Welcome to Creature Report. Creature Report. Creature Report.
Yeah.
We're gonna walk around and talk about our animals. Like this big dummy. Big sweetie boy, I mean. Who's that in the pond?
The Jack, I named him.
Look at me.
Jack the duck.
Why did we get a duck?
He flew here.
He flew
and he
here.
appeared. And then he's just been living in our pond.
Yeah, he showed up on his own. Happy little duck.
Oh, his little butt sticking up is so cute. Yeah, so he just appeared in our pond about a week ago.
Yeah.
And he's also been where the chickens have been, and any food that spilled out of their bowl that they didn't get, he's kind of ate off the ground. But he's been hanging out in our pond and it's super friendly. Like he kind of comes out when we call him.
Yeah, he's a fun little guy. All right, starting on the update for the guard dogs and the goats, I'll show you a little bit of an infrastructure change. The solar fence charger that electrifies the fence has not cut it during the winter where there's not enough sunlight hitting it to keep that battery charged. So I found a simple solution, which is a marine battery hooked up to a more standard fence charger and then just protected from the weather with this tote. And this battery is fine for, it seems like, at least a week or two between recharging, so that's working really well and it's super simple. And now that I'm gonna go in there, if I don't want to get shocked, all I need to do is just remove the negative and then that'll stop it, and when I leave I'll replace that. So let's go in. Hi Maple.
Good sit, Maple. Good girl.
So Maple and Lila are doing really well.
Sweetheart.
Lila continues to be pretty chill and a really good example for Maple. Maple is really, when she sees us walking by, especially the first part of the day, she gets kind of whiny and really wants attention, which is fine. We give her a little bit of attention, but not a ton. But she loves playing with her mom. They wrestle and growl at each other and get good kind of fighting practice with each other. It never gets crazy, but
yeah,
they really play pretty rough sometimes. And we haven't had a single predator issue, not only here inside with the goats, but anywhere. Not the chickens, not anything. And I think just their presence, they bark, especially kind of at twilight in the evening they bark, sometimes in the middle of the night. And we can definitely tell that that's a good deterrent, and we're really happy with them. And the other thing we should comment on is in the winter they've grown the most thick, luxurious coat. You can't believe how thick it is and how warm it keeps them, and it's beautiful and soft.
So soft.
They're really great girls. We're really enjoying them. Oh, got a kiss. Hi, sweetheart. Did you hear me complimenting you so much?
She says yes.
I think you're beautiful. When we first got her, she had just weaned her litter, which included Maple, and her hair, Lila's hair, was a little kind of patchy and thin.
Yeah, it was really falling
and
out.
the people that we got the dogs from said that the fur would grow in, and man, it really did.
Just give her a high protein diet and she's done really
They're
well.
doing great.
And Maple's bigger than her mom for sure.
Yeah, Maple's
now.
taller.
Yep.
Oh, the other thing I'll show you, I'll talk more about this dog shelter I made. One of our watchers was interested to hear more about it. So the first reason I wanted to do something like this is I wanted to make an automatic feeding system for them, because it was a twice daily chore where not only would I need to bring Maple and Lila food, but I'd also have to stay there and fend the goats off, because goats want to eat everything, so they would want to come try to steal the food. And I would either have to leave the dogs to fight off the goats, which it's fine if they kind of growl at the goats if they're specifically trying to eat their food, but I didn't really want to encourage that. So this kind of eliminates that chore because it's an automatic feeder where I can pour an entire 50-pound bag of dog food in here. And I keep that board on it to make sure to keep it protected so it doesn't get wet. And then from the inside, there's a little flap that they push in and eat. So I'm really happy with how it's working. The main modification I've made so far is that their access door, I needed to make it a little bit smaller because once in a while we would find the smaller goats in there. So what I've done is I've added this piece of plywood. The plywood is 8.5 inches wide and a little over 10 inches tall. I actually have been making it a little bit taller because Maple, who's a tall girl, was having trouble pushing through. And then I added this plastic because dogs are a lot smarter than goats, so the dogs understand they can push through it, but the goats, I think, is a bit of a deterrent as well. So with this modification to the entrance, I haven't seen a single goat make their way in. And then again, there's a look across to the other way where the feeder is. And if they want, the dogs can shelter in here, but I haven't seen them do it in the last week or so. Specifically in this paddock that we've moved the goats to, the goats and the dogs have been sleeping under those trees. They make like a nice dirt patch. The dogs especially really like sleeping on bare dirt. It must feel good on their tummies or something, where this is some really coarse grass in here that they probably don't enjoy. But I wouldn't be surprised if it rained really hard while they were in here. The dogs would go in this shelter. Just to give you a little bit of a view, the most recent paddock is very close to the pond. We're right at the pond edge, and we've been working off in the distance. You can see where the excavator is parked. We've been working our way this way, and this paddock the goats are in now is probably the thickest blackberry we've had them in. Hi, Hermione. What a good girl. It's some really thick blackberries back here. I'll take you back here. One way Tina and I have been thinking about it is it's kind of the thickest, most inaccessible brushy area on the property, especially considering how close it is to the yurt. The yurt's over there 100 yards, maybe 150 yards. So right here, so close, it's this extremely thick blackberry. And so, like we've been doing in other spots, the goats really help us get in here. And this hillside is extremely rocky, and it would be impossible on some spots to get the tractor in here and mow anyways. So the goats doing their work is really nice. And you can see them back there doing their job. And I'll walk you up to show you kind of the border. So south behind us you've got the yurt, and then kind of that grassy field near the pond. And then it changes from that grassy field to this really overgrown brushy spot. And then as I'm walking north, I'll turn the camera. It hits a point up there where you can see that tree line, and it becomes a nice wooded area with enough tree cover or canopy cover that blackberries aren't growing. So it's this point that's, I don't know what it is, maybe it's 4 or 5 acres, maybe less, of really dense blackberry that we're focusing the goats on right now. And we're really excited to get this cleared out because, again, we're so close to the yurt and where we live and spend a lot of time that it would be really nice to clean this area up and make it something we can work with. And the goats are doing a great job. Huh, Hermione? You eating good food? You're a good girl. More about the goats. It's been a while since we talked in detail about them. We have this guy, Nibblet, who our neighbor gave us. He's a Wether, a neutered male. And sometimes he's a little ornery, but he's a good guy. And then we've got Hermione back there, who's one of the 4 Kikos that we bought last summer. And then back here I see Bilbo, the little buck that we bought to do some breeding for us. And we've seen some breeding activity, but we are not sure who's pregnant, if they're pregnant. But we learned that we're probably we were jumping the gun on trying to breed our young girls. I guess most commonly people advise you wait until they're over a year old to breed them, and ours were, what were they, on the order of 8 months old or something when we introduced Bilbo, the buck, to them. So if some of the younger ones or none of the younger ones are pregnant, that's fine. Now, I don't see her back there, but we have a little dwarf, a little dwarf Nigerian that our neighbor gave us as well, and we're pretty confident that she's pregnant from Bilbo. So that'll be interesting. We may be getting little baby goats in the next month or 2. There's Bilbo hiding back there, eating away. Hi, bud. And there's the 2 sisters there, Poppy and Daisy. I'll keep pushing through. There's the dwarf back there that might be pregnant. Petunia's hiding back there. So Petunia, the dwarf back there with the horns on her, is actually kind of a bully sometimes to the other girl goats. We've seen her a few times ramming them, and we're a little worried about that, especially if any of the other girls are pregnant and have babies. That aggression might not work. So we're not sure if she's long for this herd. Maybe if she has babies, we'll figure out what to do with the babies and then sell her on or give her away, or see if our neighbor wants her back that gave her to us. And there's Snowball back there, our white girl, who's doing really well. One thing we learned about was hoof care, and we learned about trimming their hooves, and they needed it earlier this year. And there's one of them that I need to get to again. I think it's Poppy, but I'll have to check on that. But basically their hooves grow in, and if they're not on a lot of rock that's naturally wearing away that hoof, which is probably why that mechanism evolved, then it ends up getting too long, curling over and trapping wet debris and stuff, and it can start to cause rot in their hoof. And so we'd seen Snowball limping, and that was our indicator that it was a problem, and we jumped on it and fortunately got her limping done. Did you know I'm talking about you? What was that? Oh, she can't believe I talked about her. What was that, silly? So there's 2 goats you didn't see and we haven't talked about, and that's Harry and Ron. Unfortunately, they both died over the winter. First Ron, and then about a month later Harry. And as we've learned more about goats and kind of reflecting on what happened, I'm pretty confident it's a combination of their age, they were pretty young, and their breed, a Nubian, which is a kind of a thin dairy goat, that they just weren't cut out for the demand we're putting on our goats, where we're not treating them like pets. They're outside clearing brush and eating blackberries and natural forage for us. We don't have them in a barn giving them hay, and that's harder on a goat. We're not babying them along, and in hindsight it wasn't fair to those boys, Harry and Ron, at their age to try to put them in that situation, and so they died. When Ron died, you know, when we got him, he was sickly and small, smaller than Harry, and we got him through coccidiosis, and then he was looking good, but then as winter came on, he was looking wimpy, and it was getting to a point where I thought, oh man, am I gonna have to put this little goat out of his misery, because he was looking pretty bad. And then I found him dead where he sleeps in his shelter. And we chalked that up to he was the little sickly one. And we never saw Harry getting especially small or sickly before he died, and I was really surprised to find him dead when we had moved them back here where the excavator is sitting. So that one was more surprising and a big bummer, and it was, what, 2 days before baby's due date or something. Tina was really sad because it was quite a dramatic day.
It was.
But in hindsight, the fact that the other goats look pretty good, you know, a little skinnier, it's normal if you put them out in the winter like we do, that they get a little skinnier or at least stop gaining weight in the winter. We really hope it turns around, and I might start throwing them some hay for the next month or two as winter closes out to kind of kickstart their health.
Yep.
So the lesson learned for us was, don't get a breed like a Nubian out here doing what we're doing. Stick with a hardy breed like the Kikos. We should probably focus almost exclusively on Kikos. So that's the takeaway we had from that.
And we buried Ron under a fig tree that we put in.
Yeah, one of the fig trees we'd had on a pot from a cutting. We dug a hole, put Ron at the bottom of the hole, and then planted this fig tree here. So this is Ron's fig tree. So we'll remember Ron, and hopefully
He's a desert king
his body nourishes that fig into a big healthy tree. We still need to put a label of some sort on it.
Yeah.
Memorializing Ron. And then over this way is Harry's tree, which is a Honeycrisp apple. And spring is around the corner. Hopefully we see these trees shoot up with spring growth. But that's where Harry is. So we're definitely sad and feel bad for the end that Harry and Ron had. Yeah. But we learned a lot, and we intend for something like that to not happen again. You know, animals will die on the farm, but we need to do what we can to reduce the chance of that. And the takeaway here was get the right breeds of goats and set them up for success, rather than, in hindsight, we kind of set Harry and Ron up for failure, putting them in a situation they weren't cut out for. So moving forward, we'll do better on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go see Tux the cat in his natural environment. He's on the prowl. Tuxie, are you gonna get something? You have sawdust on your head, silly. He's masking his scent. Sometimes he eats grass. So him and Olaf are good buddies now. Him and Olaf completely get along. Aw, boys. Hi, bud.
He has pollen all over his face.
I thought it was sawdust.
Oh, was it?
So Tux is doing really great. He's a great pet, and he also does his job of getting mice and voles. So we couldn't be happier with farm animal than we are with Tux, our cat. So he's doing really great. And of the two other cats, one of them passed away, of the brother-sister combination. Mr. passed away. I found him and it was quite a grisly scene, but it looks like he either ate something that damaged him internally, or he ate something with poison in it. We don't put out any kind of poison just for that kind of reason, but
there might have been something left over here.
But something got into his belly, and then the scene that I found, it was clear that, you know, bad things happened inside his stomach and he passed away from it. So that was a bummer. But his sister is still here and still skittish, but we see her out prowling with Tux sometimes and hanging out with him. The main time I see her is when their food bowls are empty and I get up in the morning and go into the shop. Tux always lets me know his food bowl is empty, and she like tags along. Like he's the vocal one, but she's there ready for when I put more food in their bowl. So Olaf, he's in a timeout right now, so maybe this isn't the best time to talk about him, but he's a sweet boy, very loyal, but still pretty big dummy. He just got that timeout just now because when we were over there telling you about Harry and Ron, he just wandered off into the neighbor's field where he's not supposed to go, and I'm calling out to him from not that far away, and he basically can't hear me, it seems like, and just keeps walking. So I basically have to chase him down and bring him back. So stuff like that is really frustrating, where some combination of him not hearing me or just being stubborn and following his nose and not paying attention to me calling him back can be really frustrating. But otherwise he's doing really well as far as just being a loyal sweetheart with us. Simple training is going well. Hey Olaf, sit, sit, look at me. Nope, sit, 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 down, down. He's being a goofball right now because he wants to play. Hey, sit. Sit, good, stay. So just simple things are frustrating, like the UPS guy will come and I'll tell Olaf to sit and stay, and Olaf can barely contain himself, but he'll sit. But you know, the second the UPS guy opens the door, even though I'm telling Olaf to stay, he runs over to say hello. You know, it's frustrating. He's not being aggressive, but still, when I tell him to stay, I want him to stay. Especially a big slobbery dog like this. Sometimes people don't want big slobbery dogs running at them, so I need to be able to control them, and it's a little frustrating when it doesn't work. But it's hard to be mad at him when you see this big goofy smile. Huh, bud. So otherwise he lives a good life. We basically never need to lock him up unless he's in trouble, and he sleeps under the yurt. He hangs out. He's still overly interested in the chickens, but I have been doing some training with having him near the chickens, and he's not aggressive. He's just too interested and fixates on them and wants to go close to them and startles them. And then this same situation, I'm calling him back, Olaf, come, but when he's excited about the chickens he doesn't come back. But I'll go over here and show you a little bit of how I've been trying to train him to be more relaxed around the chickens. Let's see how it goes. Olaf, come. Here, sit. Sit. Good, sit. Stay. Olaf, look at me. No. Hey, Olaf, look at me. Come right here. Okay, sit. Stay. Stay. Good stay, bud. Good stay. Good stay. Good stay. Olaf, come here. Sit. Look at me. No, that's down. Olaf, look at me. Olaf, look at me. Olaf, look at me. Olaf, look at me. Look at me. Look at me. See how he's just overly excited. Olaf, sit. Sit. Look at me. Look at me. You silly boy. So the other great benefit of Olaf is just his presence here. He's a big smelly dog, so he patrols the area and leaves smell all over the place, so I'm sure that's a good deterrent for critters. And he's just a big, intimidating looking dog, so just his presence on the property is good because it might be a deterrent to people that would otherwise maybe creep around and try to trespass up here. Seeing a big black dog in the distance might be enough to just have them turn around. So overall, really happy with Olaf. Again, I think I've talked about it before. I just need to be patient and consistent with him and have realistic expectations for what he's going to be able to do and not do. He's never going to be a border collie that just snap obedient commands. He just isn't that type of dog. Olaf, come here. Oh. Let's talk about our chickens. You can see our garden area here has some chickens in it, so that's new. What we've done is we separated Gandalf and 6 hens into this area so that Gandalf can mate and we can collect fertilized eggs from these 6 hens, and then in the next few weeks we will start incubating a batch of eggs and raise out some more chickens.
So fun. There's a chicken in the pot.
Chicken in a pot. There's Gandalf. He's our Lavender Ameraucana. He's a good boy.
He's a good boy. He's a very good boy.
So who's in here and why? Our 2 white chickens, the Leghorns, are in here because through the winter they have consistently been our best layers. They lay an egg almost every day each, so that's great. So one of them might be inside the shelter, but there's 2 of them here. We have these 2 red girls, which are New Hampshire Reds, which haven't been our greatest layers, but hopefully during the spring we see that turn back on. In the pot is Sarah, the buff Orpington. She's a good chicken. And somewhere hidden in there is Specky. She's a Speckled Sussex and an older bird. We don't know exactly how old. We got her as an adult, but that makes up the 6 girls that we're going to hatch out their eggs. And so we'll get green eggs from the offspring of Gandalf and these girls that have brown eggs. We're really curious if the cross of Gandalf with the white chickens will result in a light blue egg or what we'll get. So
yeah, we're excited to see.
We'll take you over there in a minute, but we'll remind you that the first time we hatched babies that were fathered by Gandalf, they're all black chickens and they all lay green eggs because Gandalf is an Ameraucana who has a gene for laying blue eggs. And so we're hoping to get more of his breed as well, but it's rare and hard to find. But I'm trying to hunt down... Yes, Gandalf. I'm trying to hunt down hatching eggs of his breed so that we can keep a few hens of his breed around as well. And through the years, at some point Gandalf will get old and we'll lose him, but hopefully not anytime soon. But we would like to hold on to his breed for the long term. So that's the state of these chickens, and here I'll take you inside and show you that shelter. It's the same basic frame as the dog shelter. I learned it from a channel called Doug and Stacy, where it's a simple rectangular frame and then some cattle panels bent over to provide the structure, and then you can use a tarp or plastic, whatever you like, as the roof. And then we had an extra nesting box that I threw in there, and I threw together a roosting bar in the back that you can see, and then we've decided to give them the heat lamp to try to kick up their egg production so that we can get more fertilized eggs and hatch out a larger batch. And so there's the white girl and Specky that I was talking about. Hi, Specky. What you doing in there? Do you have any eggs? Do you have any eggs under you? Another change we've made with the chickens is I started getting a different food. I found on Craigslist a guy that runs an operation of 2,000 to 3,000 layer chickens, and he mixes his own feed and he started selling it to people that want to show up and buy some. So I'm paying more per bag than I did for just the plain stuff at Tractor Supply or a feed store, but it seems to be a really high quality. It doesn't have corn, which corn is really of questionable use for most animals. This has peas and oats are the main thing, and then it's got a whole host of other things to make it a really well-rounded layer feed, and I'm really happy with it. So I soak it for a few days and feed it to them, and they love it and are doing really well on it. So I'm really happy with that. Okay, we're headed to the other chickens for reference. The yurt and stuff behind us, the pond, and the dogs and goats. And the chickens have been moving through this field that we're trying to turn into a nice grassy field, and they're back here. And you can see all that open soil that the chickens really worked over, and I need to spread some grass seed on that to help it come back as nicer grass. 2 more eggs. We're at a 12-egg day.
A dozen eggs, oh my goodness.
Through the winter we've been getting like 4 or 5 eggs a day has been normal from November to now, and just in the last couple of weeks we're noticing an uptick in egg production, and today was a full dozen eggs, so that's a great sign. So there's only two kinds of birds in this pen right now. The black girls, which are daughters of Gandalf, all lay green eggs of varying shades. And the girls with that brownish arrowhead pattern are called Barnevelders, and they lay this dark brown speckled egg. And since they lay different kinds of eggs, we've been able to pay close attention to who's laying more eggs, who's laying fewer eggs through the winter. And the Barnevelders have been the weakest layers through the winter. And the girls laying the green eggs have been second best, second only to the Leghorns laying the white eggs. So it's been interesting to see, and we really hope that the girls like the Barnevelders that have been laying less through the winter really pick up for the spring and summer. And we have thoughts for more shelter, more light and heat for the winter if we really want to keep egg production going. We can go that route, or we can try to get a lot more white Leghorns or crosses with Gandalf, or a little of both. So that's the kind of thing we learned this winter, and we're thinking about moving forward. Luna the rabbit has been living in this field behind the pond, and we move her at least once a day, if not twice a day, onto fresh grass. And sometimes Arya brings her things like apple cores. Hi. I'll pan the camera and you'll see where she's been before. You'll see shorter grass and little piles of bunny poop. That's where she's been. So it's really simple to just slide this little structure over. We have pieces of scrap wood out here because sometimes if the ground is uneven, we need to plug those gaps. She's a good girl.
Super good girl.
Very.
So that's all about our animals, but I guess to end the creature report, we can talk about this cute little creature, Ivy.
Ivy is
She's been such a good girl, such a good baby, eating and growing like crazy.
Yeah, she just had her last appointment with the midwife before she turned over to normal pediatrics. And she weighed in at 11 pounds.
11 ounces.
11 pounds, 11 ounces. So that means she's gained 3 pounds, 11 ounces in a little over a month.
Yeah, like 6 weeks.
So
big girl.
She's gaining a lot of weight.
Yeah, she's a great eater. Say hello. And this is one of the first times she's being out here actually staying awake. Usually she falls asleep in 2 seconds, being a little kangaroo in Mama's pouch here.
A lot more eyes open and looking around, which is fun.
Definitely fun.
You're a good baby. She's really content in this pack against Tina's warm body. She can sleep for hours like that, or just toddle around like that.
Yes.
Oh, and I hear a neighboring creature, the llama.
Olaf's on the driveway there, so he's
the drama llama makes funny noises at us. Hi llama. Hi llama. Hello. Hello llama. So right where we're standing, the chickens were here a couple months ago, and it's fun to see the grass coming back nice and green where it had been more blackberry before. And especially I remember this dark green patch you can see here is exactly where the chicken tractor had sat. So extra chicken poop had gone here, and it's extra green now because of that. And you can see similar right there. So really exciting that even if through the winter we didn't get many eggs for the amount of time and the money and feed we invest in them, the fact that we're moving them around and putting manure on the ground and growing greener grass is really nice as well. Hey! Alright, so that's it for Creature Report. I don't know, Creature Report will probably be quarterly, couple times a year. I don't know. We don't want to bug you about what our animals are doing every week or anything, but it's fun to keep track and make plans. And so things of note later in the year about the animals that we might talk about are getting more chickens or hatching chickens, getting more goats or having baby goats, and
Pigs.
if we get animals like pigs. I would love to be getting more animals, but we've got so much infrastructure we want to do as well. Like a deck on the yurt, a nicer shop, start to work on the moldy pink house. All those kind of things take away from putting more and more time into animals. So it's a balance. We definitely want more animals, but we just need to allocate our time in a way that makes sense, and getting some infrastructure done before we jump into way more animals probably makes sense, rather than getting a bunch more animals and then being spread too thin when we're trying to build infrastructure. Okay, that's it.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, James. Give us a good arrow shot.